And before I talk about how we're moving forward with the demolition and the procurement for a new bridge, I want to address the issues of Friday's community meeting. I've spoken to Director Alviti and the DO team, and they understand that when the state holds a community meeting, the purpose for the community to be involved is for have a chance to share input and to ask questions. So at my direction, DOT is going to hold another virtual meeting on Thursday night at 6 p.m. to answer questions for residents and businesses about the resumption of the demolition and its potential impact on the neighborhood. I plan to be in attendance and to actually be managing that meeting. I think it's important, again, to state first, we apologize to the people who anticipated a little bit different outcome on Friday. They're going to get it on Thursday, and I expect that this will not be the first of community meetings so that we can do a better job, quite frankly, communicating the community where I'm confident with the information that I'm going to provide today in terms of the progress of the demolition and the construction of the bridge, but I do publicly admit that we need to do a better job communicating what is actually going on and providing the communities that have been impacted by the bridge to have a better opportunity, quite frankly, to express their concerns, but also to provide their input. So now on to some news that I think is very important, and I want to thank the DOT and Joe and all the players that are really working hard to deliver on a project that is very multidimensional. There's a lot of moving parts, and the bridge demolition is one of those, and that will be resuming today. Overnight jackhammering will not start until Sunday on my request. That way we can talk with the residents at the community meeting on Thursday so that they have time to plan if their lives are being impacted in a way where they need a couple days to kind of make arrangements. Going forward, the only jackhammering that will need to be done at night is work that would significantly disrupt traffic during the day while drivers are trying to get to work, school, and to local businesses. We understand that uncertainty that currently exists and has existed for families to get to work on time, get their kids to school on time, get home for their dinner on time is something that has been very problematic for the families that live in our state. I know that the evening noise is a problem and an inconvenience for residents in the area. I've talked to the councilman about this directly, and he's supplying some information for that meeting on Thursday. But we know that it's necessary, right? We have to get this work done. And we're moving as fast as we can to get it done right. We know it's taking a long time. It's going to take a longer time, but we've got to make sure that we're getting it right. Speaking of the timing, I know many of you have questions about the pause in demolition. We have a strong litigation team, both our private attorneys that we brought on, along with the Attorney General's office, and they have my full confidence. They advised us to put a pause in place last month with the understanding that it would help the case and would be temporary, and that's what happened. Litigation and operations respect each other's distinct and separate roles. They have a job to do that dates prior to December 11th. I have a job to do going from December 11th forward. Ultimately, it was my call to resume demolition work so we can keep the project moving forward. As I said, this is a multi-dimensional project, and there's a lot of moving parts, but I have full confidence that the work that is being done to get the bridge built is being done in a way that I have confidence in. So that's our number one priority. My number one priority is for the people in Rhode Island is to get this bridge built as soon as possible and as safely as possible. And also, I want to just say that there's other work happening in the state as well. The bridge is the priority, but the infrastructure is improving as we speak in the state. We've moved up 12 spots on a recent ranking, quite frankly, on infrastructure. That work has to continue as well, and that's part of the multi-dimensional issues that we're dealing with, not only to build a bridge, but to keep the work going that's happening throughout municipalities throughout the state. I know that even though I'm grateful that we have been able to open up 3 lanes in both directions on the eastern side of the bridge, the closure of the western bridge, as I've said, has presented real hardship for families and businesses. Additionally, in other demolition news, we are moving up demolition of the bridge substructure to February 2025 as part of the active demolition contract. And here's why that's beneficial. It will ensure an efficient continuation of the work because crews and equipment are already mobilized on the site. That means we are avoiding additional time and costs associated with bidding out the contract and remobilizing to demolish the substructure later in the project. This update also removes a level of uncertainty for potential reconstruction bidders, helping ensure the new procurement attracts qualified bids. The work of the removal of the structures below the water line also is going to have to be done. So it's work that we're going to get ahead of when we go out for the procurement to identify the contractor who will be building a brand new bridge. So the next bit of news today, we are moving forward with a procurement for the reconstruction of the new bridge. After the first RFP, we did not deliver what we had expected. We looked at different paths forward. We went out for a request for information. That gave us real insight directly from potential bidders as to what options were out there and which would attract the greatest number of bidders. In considering those options, we asked ourselves, what will get this project done as quickly as possible? How can we minimize uncertainty in terms of scope and timeline? And how can we ensure the best use of taxpayers' dollars? I'm going to let Director Alviti talk to you about this in more detail, but the upshot is that we have chosen a 2-step procurement process that starts with an RFQ, a request for qualifications from potential bidders that will help us narrow the field of bidders early on in the procurement process. The RFQ will be followed by an RFP, where a narrowed pool of vendors submit competitive proposals for project costs and timelines. Let me tell you why I believe this is the best option, of several options that were considered. First of all, we're not asking a dozen vendors to spend months creating costly proposals that may not be selected in the end. That time and effort can often deter bidders from the process. Rather, we are choosing a select number of bidders with the understanding that we will compensate those for that work with us, but ultimately are not chosen. So by compensating a few contractors for the work, which is expensive to do the proposals, putting bid proposals together, we expect that we're going to get good responses from a few contractors that will ultimately be narrowed down to one contractor that will build the bridge. So we'll benefit from the competition without asking too much from too many responders. And that RFQ will be posted today. I believe that it's already been posted. Now, I'll be here to answer questions, but at this moment, I'd like to turn over to Director Alviti, come up and fill in the blanks. Thanks, Director.
Thank you, Governor. So I'm pleased to be here today to let the folks of Rhode Island know that the pause in the work that we're doing on the project is over. RIDOT and our contractors are now ready to get back to work, and we thank everybody for their patience and perseverance that everyone has shown through this process. But what everybody wants to know at this point, I'm sure, is what we're going to do next to get the bridge built, to get a new bridge built. After the first attempt to solicit bids for the project, RIDOT and our consultants engaged with 10 of the most expert bridge building companies in the country, if not the world. We wanted to work with them to determine what the selection process should be in order to assure robust competition and provide Rhode Island with the best bridge at the best price on the best schedule. So here's what came out of that productive exchange of ideas that we had in exchange of information with these multinational companies. First, we're going to begin a two-step process to hire the best bridge building company that we can by ensuring, or by issuing rather, a request for companies to submit their qualifications first for building our new bridge. This will allow us to narrow down the field to 2 of the most highly qualified companies among them to compete for the contract to build a bridge. This is the first of a two-step process. Once the 2 companies are selected, we'll then issue a request for proposals from them. The RFQ, the request for qualifications, was issued this morning. And it's on the DOA website, and we have paper copies of it here to distribute to all of you today. This request for qualifications is going to allow companies to demonstrate that they have the capacity to do the work by showing us their access to resources, their staff qualifications, and their prior experience in building bridges like the Washington Bridge. During this process, we'll then select 2 of the most highly qualified companies based on scoring specific criteria defined in the RFQ that you'll see today. These 2 companies will also have the opportunity to give us feedback on the RFP form, and will work with us to create in a manner an RFP that will make the award process go smoothly and quickly and provide the best competition. The 2 companies will then be allowed to compete for the contract to design and rebuild the new bridge by responding with their technical proposals in the RFP process. In this step, the companies will compete by providing their bridge design, their proposed cost, and detailed schedule of their completion of the project. RIDOT will then award the contract to rebuild the bridge to the company submitting the best proposal, as determined by specific criteria, scoring criteria in the RFP. The process will therefore allow us to contract with the most highly qualified company and the best and well-defined design, price, and schedule to build our new Washington Bridge. We expect to have the two most qualified companies selected in December through the qualifications process, and a final company selected by June with a notice to proceed with work by July. In addition to beginning the selection process of the bridge building contractor, today we're going to issue a change order to Aetna Bridge, giving them the approval to demolish the substructure, the piers, and the footings underneath the existing bridge. We're assuring, by doing this, we're going to ensure the continuity of demolition work by having the company that's already out there with their equipment, their personnel, dedicated workforce, and expertise to also remove the substructure in a sequence with the superstructure demolition that they're currently doing. It will also streamline the job site logistics and scheduling conflicts that could develop by having two separate contractors on the same work site. This is another strategy that we discussed in depth with the 10 companies, the 10 expert bridge building companies, when we conferred with them during the last couple of months. In our discussions with the companies, we learned that most of them did not want to include the reuse of the existing substructure in their designs for a new bridge, nor did they want the responsibility or the risk associated with determining whether or not those substructures would be adequate for the life of a new bridge superstructure, nor did they want to assume the risk of the demolition of the rest of that. So for that reason, we've made a decision to move that demolition component of what would be done during the construction project back into the existing demolition contract. By moving the demolition to the current contract, we can assure a faster completion of the demolition work and allow the contractor selected to build a new bridge to do their work faster without being delayed by having to demolish the substructure. I want you to know that we spent many hours conferring with these 10 companies during the RFI process. Their knowledge and ideas about how to craft the new RFP and some insight into their industry standards has been implemented into the new RFP and RFQ process. We heeded their advice and their ideas. This change order for the demolition project extension to the piers and substructure is ready to go and will be implemented quickly. Demolition of the substructure should start in February, according to this change order, and it will be completed by December of '25. That time frame, while bringing a new contractor for the construction on in June and July of next year, will allow them the 6-month period to do many tasks that they need to do before actually needing to be on the ground where those existing piers are. There's a design process that they have to initiate, a final design process. They will be constructing prefabricated components of the new bridge during that time. They'll be mobilizing their workforce. They'll be putting together any regulatory permits that will be necessary for the new construction. And by the December completion of the substructure, they'll be ready to move in seamlessly with the into the active construction zone and begin the erection of the new bridge. This RFP process that we'll be entering into to select the final company will begin in the December timeframe. The required companies will submit their technical proposals. There will be down to 2 companies at that point of the most qualified. Those 2 companies will submit technical proposals on cost, schedule, and the actual design that they're intending to implement. There are going to be numerous discussions between December and June when we select the final company to build a bridge. And those discussions will cover a wide range of information, including their design concepts, their building methods, the materials that they're going to use, their personnel utilization and experience, the environmental permitting strategies that they'll employ, and many other factors involved in the new construction. That process will result in the companies each providing their final and best proposals to us, and we expect to select and award to the final company in June. The final cost of the project, the final schedule of the completion of the design and construction of the new bridge will be determined in that process. In the meantime, we're going to, at RIDOT, do our very best to keep the public informed about what's going on, not only with travel advisories, but also with additional public meetings, which we'll conduct regarding each phase of the work as we move forward. We'll be sure in those public meetings to answer questions in real time. Regarding the second public meeting on the demolition of the Washington Bridge that the governor referred to, as of this morning, we're encouraging all those who are affected by the demolition to register and participate in the virtual information session on Thursday, this coming Thursday, October 17th at 6 p.m. by going to our website and registering. They can also, we're making available on our website the ability to post questions in advance of the meeting if that's more convenient, or they have trouble attending the upcoming meeting. I will be there along with the governor to answer questions live from both the meeting last Friday and the upcoming meeting on Thursday. We realize that people want a chance to ask questions and get answers in real time. So we'll do that. We're going to do that on Thursday, beginning at 6 o'clock. And we're planning more meetings for the weeks ahead to allow for additional community participation. We want the neighbors to know that they can expect what they can expect from the demolition process, and we want to hear and respond to their concerns. We know the first meeting didn't go as intended. We know that. But we're going to move forward and make that right beginning on Thursday. So that's the plan of the work that we have going forward from today. Procurement is going on, demolition is continuing, and we will be communicating with the neighborhoods. RIDOT, our staff, myself, are looking forward to beginning the real work of creating another new bridge for Rhode Island. Building new bridges is the work that we do best at RIDOT. And we all work hard to make sure, and we will work hard to make sure that this bridge gets built the same way.